Right, guys. I think we're out of the cold snap now in Bulgaria. We're above zero now. We were like quite a few days below zero. About I think it was about 8 days, 9 days below zero. But like all's good now, and you can feel that the weather may be turning. We can have snow still, right up to May. We can have snow, and but the real sub-zero temperatures, I think, um, are out of the way. It's still cold. It's not warm, but uh, um, but it feels a lot warmer, obviously, because you get used to the really cold weather. Well, I do, anyway. Some people don't. So, like a news roundup of what's happening, and the big thing around the Balkans area is the arrest of this guy Georgescu in Romania, and they arrested him. He was on the way to submit his papers to run for the election, and not just any election. It's not a local election. This is the election for the president. That's what he's doing, and he was arrested, and he was actually charged with some strange laws, which some of them they reckon don't exist. Like he was a fascist, and he was this, that, the other, and and actually he kind of won the last election. Well, he won the first round. He cancelled. They annulled the result of the first round, and they cancelled the second round because he was going to win. So that means if he was going to win, that means he had a big majority, because they can take care of small majorities by various means, as we know. But he had a big majority, and apparently he still does in the polls, if not bigger, after what happened. And now they've arrested him, and they think they can. So the only reason they do this is that they think they can get away with it. They think they can ride it out, as they do on occasions. With most things, that's what they do now in governments. They do something, and they see if they can ride it out by, they know there's going to be protests, and they know there's going to be kickback, but they make a calculated risk, and that, like, the protests aren't going to be strong enough or long enough, so they'll do things anyway and just take the protests or whatever, and hope they ride it out, and normally they do, especially in the UK. Now, will this calculated gamble work in Romania? And I think the support for this guy is so big, and the history of this kind of thing in Romania is very fresh. The Ceausescu guy, that I think this is a bigger gamble than just doing like electric vehicles for 2030 or something like that, or basically they cancelled the election, and now there's going to be another one, and they can't let this guy take part, otherwise he'll win. That's it. That's the top and bottom of it, right? So they're making this calculated gamble, the risk of. Another thing that happened was, when he was released, he was banned from all forms of media for 60 days. Just for 60 days. And the election is in 60 days' time. So he's not allowed to campaign, basically, because he can't go on social media, he can't go on anything. So that was one of the things. Now, so what do I think will happen, and what do many people think will happen in Romania now? Now, I think it'll go off like a powder keg. That's my opinion. That's what I think's going to happen. It'll go off like a powder keg because this is the second time now this is happening, and there was large protests in the first place for cancelling the elections, but now he's been arrested, and this is out and out, just barefaced cancelling this guy, so he can't take part, and he's not even like a kind of a third place or anything like that. This guy's way out ahead. He's got over 40% of the votes in the polls. Well, the results of the polls, and it'll be even more. So even the people who didn't support him were protesting after the first annulment of the protest. So it wasn't just because it was his supporters. It was both sides. So that's what I think will happen, and it's not surprising that they put it down in the hands of the police. Now, the police are acting on behalf of these people who were, basically from Brussels, commanding what's happening in maybe the US and NATO, because that's where the new border's gonna be. There's a massive base. We went past it actually last year on the road to Iași, which is spelt Iasi, and this base, there was a lot of British stuff there as well. Like trucks and equipment, and I noticed Vinci were there. I used to work for Vinci, who bought up a load of British stuff. I think they were French, but there's loads of Vinci stuff down there, and they're building this huge base. And there was a fence that they built, and it went on for miles. And so that's what they're doing in Romania. So they don't want the guys like this around, or having any say in these things. Now, he's never said he's against NATO membership, and he's never said he's against EU membership. So we'll see how that goes anyway. But I think, watch this space. I think there'll be a powder keg in Romania. And who knows, the police, are they all going to go one way? Now that's where it crumbles. Eventually, something's going to give in all this authoritarianism and that in Europe. So anyway, that feeds into like a theory that I've got, kind of a theory that like it suits Bulgaria now to not have a stable government, because it's like a moving target, and I think they've got another coalition in now. But there's hopes, there's fading hopes that it'll last. And what they did last time, they had a government, a proper government, is they put this guy in, and he was the EU's choice guy, and he was half of the coalition, and they finally got him in, and he formed a coalition where it was a shared prime ministership. and he was the first in the crease batting. He was batting for the EU, and what happened was the other half of the coalition, he stepped down, and the other half of the coalition just said they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna take the second half. So that took him out of the picture as well as them. So I think what happened was they sacrificed themselves to get him out the way, because obviously he would have still been part of the coalition and would have had, a say in everything. So that's how they got him out. That's my opinion. That's the way I saw it at the time. And at the moment, I think they've got another coalition in, but it's hard to tell because you have that many elections here and that many mandates for forming governments. I think they've got one in place, but I'm not sure. Anyway, but the president has been omnipresent all the way through, and he's a wily fox. Rumen Radev, or is it Ramin Rudolph? Rumen Radev. I always get it the other way, the wrong way. It's one of them. But he's been omnipresent, and he's like a very good statesman. He's very good at, towing the line when he has to, and saying the right things. And that's what Bulgaria do a lot, actually, with Brussels. Tell them what they want to hear, and then do something else, or partly do what they're going to say they're going to do. Enough. They toe the line just about enough to not cause. Sometimes they get fines, but the grants outweigh the fines. So they play that game, and like they're good at it now. They're good at it. It took them a while to get the hang of getting the money from Brussels, but when they had the presidency of the European Union, that's when they really, got to grips with how to get all this money, and they get big payments regularly, and if you look at it for the population size, there's a lot of money per capita every time, and for infrastructure, because they've only got about 7 big cities or 7. They haven't got any big cities really. Sofia's not that big, for a capital city. I think it's 1.2 million or something like that, 1.5, something like that. But it's not that big. I'm going there actually to pick someone up in the next few days. And that's good because the weather's turned, so there won't be any treacherous roads. So that's good news. So the other good news is there's more and more flights. Well, whether that's good news or not, but it tells you something, that there's 2 more new flights from Sofia now to Krakow, and there's one to Sardinia, the north of Sardinia in Italy. So this is like every second week there's more flights, and it tells you, well, I see it, 2 things are happening. One of them is the getting away from, especially Wizz Air, is getting away from the Western Europe and basing themselves from the UK, which is basically what a lot of the budget airlines did in the first place. Everything was for UK travellers to travel down here. Now it's in between all these other countries, and it looks like to me, I might be wrong, that they're getting out of the UK and that kind of, because they've just introduced a load of new aviation taxes as well, and they've got to be a nightmare to deal with now in the UK, and all these other places like who would have thought, Sofia to Sardinia, and the flights are getting used. We've just been to Catania, which is in Sicily. So that's what they're doing. They're going in between all these countries, which will actually make it easy for Wizz Air, not difficult, and all the rest of it, and Ryanair are doing the same. If you look at the map for destinations, that's what's happening, and that's only a good thing. And the other thing was that the flights, the passengers have increased last year, or 2024 to now, by 49% from Sofia, from Bulgaria. 49%. That's half again of what they were, So it's all moving east. That's why my channel's called Look East. Well, I spotted it before a lot of people, with other people, not just me. But there's not many of us, really. Anyway, but so now my little playground, playground of the rich and famous, has now extended really into Albania and now across to Italy, southern Italy, not northern Italy. That's like Western Europe, but southern Italy is like Spain without the aggression and noise and the politics and it's very, they're not really noisy like the Spanish. They do have all the histrionics in that, but they're not. They're different actually, and it was never on my radar, but since I've been there, absolutely. And Albania, I was always a bit wary. I don't know why. I just was, but like propaganda probably, because it was very heavy propaganda with Albania. But like, great place, and probably missed a window there to buy some land or something. That would have been a good purchase, land. That's all I'd buy now in places like a ruin with land, which preferably had some water, or definitely had water supply nearby, or an electric. And that's what I might do. That actually, but we'll see how the investments go. Not very well at the moment, but not the end of the world. But it's nothing goes up forever. But as long as it doesn't go down more than it goes up, that's how you look. That's how you need to look at it. And it's better return. You want the best return, bang for your buck, even with the risk. And that's what you get with some of the investments. And another good piece of news is, so these are all little good little bits of news. I'm not sure. Well, it's not brilliant for Bulgaria that people are flying to elsewhere, but I suppose it's part of the big picture of this southern area, the Balkans and southern Italy. I can see southern Italy potentials there. There's potential there, and it's not that run down. But there's potential for growth by all these countries, and this is another one now. Like Greece, they say a lot of people in Greece, and especially now because there's no border. The border's gone. Just drive straight through. And they're coming to buy stuff in Bulgaria, in larger numbers. Before it was a bit of a nuisance with the border. And you can get a bit of hassle, and you've got to get your insurance and all your documents. Not that you haven't got them anyway, but like it's just that added bit of hassle that you could have like half an hour on the border each way, and I think there were some checks on certain things. I'm not sure, but they used to check stuff, and I don't know what they were checking for. Anyway. But so they can drive straight in now and straight back out, and come to and the price differences are going a little bit higher now in Greece again. So they're coming shopping here now. That is a good thing for Bulgaria, obviously. So they're coming into Bulgaria shopping and filling the cars up because the price gap has opened up with the fuel as well, petrol and diesel, and they'll be getting LPG as well if they've got their head screwed on. They'll be getting the gas bottles filled in Bulgaria. That's what they're going to do for sure because it's much cheaper here. And anything else they can do, which is cheaper here. They could probably have a meal out while they're here or whatever. So there's places who are going to, I would say, be little boom places like Sandanski and Petrich, just down by the border. If they play it right, which I'm sure they will, and Gotse Delchev, which is a bit harder to reach. There's not that much. It's not hard to reach because there's a tunnel to Greece under the mountain there, but there's not that much population the other side of the border, if you know what I mean, like shoppers and stuff. Like there is, there's not that much really the other side as well. The nearest big city is a bit far away for shopping, but like I'm sure they could go like for the weekend and take advantage of all those things. And I don't know about the medicines, pharmaceuticals. I think they're cheaper in Macedonia actually, so they could go there. I know they go for dental treatment in that. The Greeks, they go to North Macedonia. There's a town there, it's full of dentists. I forget what the name is. And the Macedonian border extends a lot further down. It's a lot nearer Thessaloniki than the Bulgarian border. But anyway, so that's happening. And the Greeks have been setting up businesses as well in Bulgaria for a while now. Because it's all cheaper and easier. It's easier to operate here. Although there is bureaucracy, I think it's still easier to operate in Bulgaria, especially with the forming a company, and that's easy. I've done all that, and so all these little tiny wins in Bulgaria, and they're having another boycott, and they've included the banks now because the banking here is like horrendous. There used to be very, very low fees here and for everything, but now it's incredibly expensive. The fees and the banking, it's ridiculous, and I don't use it. If I can avoid it, I have the money in a Bulgarian bank, and the only thing I do because there's not much charging is pay in shops. Even ATM withdrawals can be expensive, so I try not to do that too much either. And that kind of thing, or be very careful where you withdraw money, which is the same everywhere really. But the fees here are ridiculous. So the boycotting banks and big chain supermarkets, especially foreign supermarkets, like there's a few. There's not that many. There's a few. Got Kaufland, which is German. Lidl, which is I think that they're from. Are they from Germany or Sweden or something? Anyway, so there's not that many the foreign supermarkets, but the Bulgarian ones are quite expensive actually. Lidl's good value, the best I think. I don't like Kaufland. I don't know why. I've never really liked it. And Billy is very expensive. That's the big Bulgarian one, I think. I find the mini markets and small supermarkets like our guy down the road here, they're very competitive on the prices. The only thing you're limited there is choice, really. But the price-wise, it's no different than going into town, especially with the fuel and that. And that kind of thing. There's just certain things that I go into town for now and again. From Lidl, and I quite like the fish. It's quite cheap in Lidl, and it's good, and it's Bulgarian, and the butter you can get. But our other supermarket now is producing its own butter, It's called Life Supermarket, and it's kind of only in our region, but it's a good supermarket. But it's like not that competitive. It's not that cheap, really, and I think it'll close down sooner or later because there's hardly anybody in there. But like, it may or it may not, because they've got short supply lines as well. A lot of the stuff's local in Life. It's either from Bulgaria or around Greece or Turkey. It's more localized, whereas the Lidl stuff it comes from all over Europe. So they've got more expensive supply lines in it. So anyway, that's the little things. That's a little roundup what's happening around this area, around the Balkans. There's a lot more happening, but I'll go through that another day. Okay.